nacido en España, pero es estadounidense.
Sí, bueno, con ese nombre, raíces hispanas tiene que tener.
Sí, sí, sí. Miguel.
O sea, Pedro Duque no ha estado en la IES, en la ISS.
No. He estado con la ESA, trabajando mucho con la ESA. Ah, qué guay. Eli
Ah,
Prat,
pues sí ha
de Big
estado, ¿eh?
Bang. ¿Sí
Sí,
actuó?
sí, sí, Pedro Duque, sí. Sí, porque estoy
Ah,
viendo un vídeo, estoy viendo un vídeo de él guiando a la gente por ella.
yo estoy buscando aquí y te ponen estadísticas de gente de la Estación Espacial Internacional. Y te pone, no cuenta dos veces individuos con doble nacionalidad. Ah, vale, vale, vale. No, solo aparece, vale, vale. Si entonces Pedro Duque es el español y Miguel López Alegría no sale como español, sale como Estados Unidos. En concreto, correcto, correcto.
Sí, 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 aquí está, sí. Sí, es un vídeo que sí es él explicando. De hecho, es la misma sala en la que está ahora mismo Cassidy. De hecho, el vídeo lo tengo aquí, me te lo voy a pasar, Santi. Eh, Lo queréis buscar vosotros en YouTube, es Pedro Duque nos guía por la Estación Espacial Internacional. Y es exactamente la misma sala donde está ahora Cassidy, preparando todo para que entren los...
Es súper divertido. Pedro Duque ahí estaba en su momento más pletórico. Tiene
No,
la,
y
la sonrisa dibujada sin parar.
qué imagen más... Es una imagen que está enseñando una escotilla que se ve justo la Tierra de... Buah, es impresionante estar ahí, tener esas vistas, poder haber visto eso.
Qué fuerte, qué fuerte. Guapísimo ver este vídeo ahora mismo, sí.
Es increíble, la verdad.
¿Tú te acuerdas del momento que tocó el piano?
¿Quién?
Pedro Duque.
Ah, en la estación.
Sí, se puso así. Hay un GIF de esto. Pedro Duque tocando el piano y súper divertido. No sé si este.
Está explicándolo todo.
Sí, 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 lo estoy viendo. Qué bueno. No sabía este vídeo. Vale, entonces el que comentaba eso, que me he colado, es Miguel López Alegría,
Ah,
que
sí,
lo has
míralo,
notado.
ahí está tocando el piano, ahí está.
¿En qué segundo? ¿En qué minuto, Peter?
En el 4:25.
Es que es muy divertido ese momento, muy.
4:25.
Está pletórico. Cualquiera le iba a decir que iba a ser ministro después de
Eran
eso.
sus grandes momentos. Él tiene ahora 57 años y este vídeo pues será hace unos 15 aproximadamente, ¿no?
Eso es, con 40 y
Contra
poco.
30, sí, 30 y muchos, 38, 39.
Qué bueno.
Sí,
Ya.
porque él estuvo allí, pues me imagino que sería en los primeros años de la década del 2000, 2004, 2005, ¿no? Serían sus últimos...
Eso es.
De lo que eran las imágenes espectaculares de fuera, ¿eh? Se lo
Buah.
están tomando con calma, ¿eh? Con mucha calma.
Mola, mola la imagen esa de Pedro Duque, que es justamente ahí, lo estábamos viendo todo el rato. Bueno, ¿has visto cuántas cámaras hay ahí entre 60? Bob,
Brutal,
estaban recogiendo,
brutal.
he visto a Dak antes recogiendo todas sus cosas en bolsitas. Bob me hace gracia porque como tiene la tonalidad esa rojiza, que nunca sabes si está aguantando la respiración o...
Totalmente. Y ahora me iba a poner a redactar un guión, también a la vez que estoy con vosotros, estoy ahí tramando algo con otro divulgador, con Guille,
Ah, qué
con Will,
guay.
con Will Div.
Sí,
Vamos a
grande.
hablar de personajes históricos que murieron envenenados.
Oh,
Sí, sí, sí. Y todo tiene un sentido, porque Guille va a subir un vídeo a su canal hablando o enseñando en directo un animal muy, muy particular, uno de los animales más venenosos del mundo. Y vamos a hacer un poco de unión entre ese vídeo y el mío y yo voy a aprovechar para hablar de varios personajes famosos que murieron o se cree que han muerto envenenados. Pues, por ejemplo, sin ir más lejos, voy a hacer spoilers. Hablamos de Sócrates, de Napoleón, de Cleopatra. Bueno,
Cleopatra.
sí, vamos a comentar algo así, ¿no? Y es un vídeo muy interesante.
Sobre no sabía yo.
¿El qué? Sócrates,
Sócrates no
de hecho,
sabía.
es uno de los más famosos. De hecho, Sócrates prefirió morir envenenado y se envenenó con cicuta.
Se fue la señal,
Se ha ido la
señores.
señal, sí,
Vale,
se ha
vale.
ido la señal. conectan con... Pues sí,
las piscinas.
se envenenó con cicuta. Voluntariamente, ¿eh? No le envenenaron. Y según se cree, pues por lo visto por los análisis químicos de los restos de Napoleón, se cree que le estuvieron envenenando durante años con arsénico.
Hostia.
Eso se dice. A ver, yo lo voy a comentar porque, bueno, es la certeza, pues
Ya. Wow. Me han pasado aquí Diego Leiva.
hay muchas teorías. Unos dicen que no, otros dicen que sí. También hay la teoría de que murió de cáncer de estómago, por eso tenía siempre la mano metida en tal porque le dolía. Es una teoría
Así.
muy, sí, es una curiosidad. A ver, no, hay muchas teorías sobre la muerte de Napoleón.
Buenísimo. Me han pasado aquí una página que se ve en directo. La página es james.darpinian.com y se ven, según tu lugar donde estás, qué satélite pasa en cada momento del día.
Qué
Y te lo
bueno.
simula.
Hay una que es muy buena, que si tú vas a una zona de noche y pones el móvil así, lo miras con la cámara, te localiza, te geolocaliza las estrellas en el firmamento. No sé cómo se
Ah,
llama.
pero es Google Sky,
Pues puede ser,
Skycap, algo
puede ser,
así.
puede ser, puede ser. Es muy útil, la verdad. Sobre todo en verano, que las noches son más despejaditas.
Ya ves.
Pu, pum, pu, pum, pu, pum, pu, pum.
Dos.
Bueno, a ver.
Mira, está ahí Bob hablando y Doug recogiendo cosas.
Sí, están dejándolo todo ordenadito.
Bob es el típico que se está, está escaqueando de recoger, ¿eh? El típico momento que te pones a hablar con una persona y me llaman. Un momento. Y el otro se pone a recoger, a barrer. Saluden, saluden. Saludamos a todos. Y es que sois un montón. Mola muchísimo. Ya hay 17.000 a ver si hemos por fin el encuentro. Ya digo que quedará cosa de 20 minutos. Yo me hago un café también ahora para coger fuerzas.
Sí, ahora cuando llegue JJ, vamos a aprovechar para este último tramo del directo
Eso es.
un cafetito que yo a mí me estoy... Entre el calor que hace, ahora ha vuelto a salir el sol. Se supone que daban tormenta para hoy, de hecho estuvo antes lloviendo, hubo algo de tormenta y ahora de repente hace un sol radiante. Tormenta veraniega de estas que se te queda todo pegajoso por
Sí,
culpa de por culpa de la humedad.
un gustirrinín.
Es horrible.
Yo voy a hacer un vídeo sobre justamente lo que he comentado aquí un poco, las matemáticas de estos momentos, de las parábolas, el tiro parabólico y la catenaria, que quiero contarla bien y me toca hacerlo ahora.
Ah,
Qué
pues
guay, tío.
yo voy a ponerme ahora a ello porque quiero tener el guión ya hoy para poder grabar mañana. Es la vida del youtuber Inside. Quiero tener ya el guión hecho hoy y así ya tenerlo pues
Ya estoy aquí,
todo
Peter, tranquilo,
bien estructurado
tranquilo, Peter.
grabarlo mañana.
Ya, ya
Tómate,
se han,
tómate el cafelito, Peter.
ya se han
Eso.
conocido, JJ, ya se han saludado, te lo has perdido.
¡No!
Es broma, hombre, es broma, te está troleando.
Os he
Joder,
seguido, os he seguido por YouTube.
cago en la mano.
Queda todavía por lo menos media horita.
Pero ya he visto que Peter es incapaz de trolearte, ¿eh? Peter te lo dice enseguida. No, no, que es broma, que es broma.
Soy buena persona, por favor.
Sí, oye, ¿este cohete cuál es? Esto lo dijiste ayer. Peter, seguro que lo conoces.
Ese es el Saturn 5.
Ahí está, ¿ves? Vamos a hacer un trivial de esto.
Es el Saturn 5.
Y yo alucino con este, con el que decía que tiene...
Vale, es que esta imagen,
Esta imagen es
ese,
brutal. Lo que-
claro, esos son los Soyuz, ¿no? Si no me equivoco, con el
Eso es,
transbordador.
sí.
no puedo confirmar aún es si esta imagen es actual de hoy. Está
Me parece flipante.
pero al
Es
menos
flipante.
podemos ver, porque ahora mismo
Mirar qué imagen de la Tierra, o sea, la zona que está, está a punto de amanecer.
sí.
Por el gusto, JJ hemos puesto aquí en el chat a vuestro Peter el vídeo de Pedro Duque. Bueno, ahora mismo que esto es muy importante, todo esto es mucho lo de...
Adiós.
Hola.
Me da espacio.
Después, si lo puedes poner en un momento que haya así una pausa que no se vea nada, el de Pedro Duque, justamente donde estamos ahora, cuando estuve en la estación internacional hace 15 años, creo, hace casi 20 años. Y muy chulo porque se ve la misma imagen, la misma puerta y...
¿La has puesto en el chat privado?
Sí, Peter ha puesto.
El último enlace. Vamos a ponerlo.
Sí, porque estaba comentando aquí que hay otro español que no se comenta, que es nacionalidad, es decir, nacido en España, pero es americano, que se llama Miguel López Alegría, que nunca se habla de él.
Sí, me acuerdo.
Y también estuvo ahí. Va a ser claro, se contabiliza como americano.
Que tenía un acento...
Es curioso, sí.
¿Es esto? No. No, esto es lo que estamos viendo ahora.
No es el mío, el de Peter, el último.
El de Peter.
Y te hace una guía, esto lo podríamos dejar después ahí en Twitter, lo pondré yo. Una guía por la Estación Espacial Internacional en español. Te va mostrando, de hecho, hay un momento que es un GIF que se pone mucho, tocando el piano, pero súper divertido, como más cachondo que nunca, Pedro Duque.
Pues vamos a mirarlo, sí. Qué maravilla.
Es directo, es que sí, guau, es un flipe.
Lo he preguntado por Twitter a ver si alguien me confirma. Porque es una imagen que están retransmitiendo en directo por Twitter, por YouTube. Pero me gustaría confirmar que esta imagen es actual de ahora. Mientras tanto, no os preocupéis que los astronautas están aquí tranquilos.
Sí, están recogiendo, se veía a Doug ahí recogiendo, Bob hablando por teléfono. Bueno, por teléfono, con la Tierra, la llamada más lejana.
Mira, mira, no hace una foto, saluda. A ver, si quedamos bien. Gracias.
Thank you. Etiquétame, ¿eh? Etiquétame. Me den los followers.
Es que estoy trabajando con dos ordenadores para poder hacer esto de tener dos imágenes a la vez.
Claro.
Y ahora voy a poner la que me habéis dicho.
Still working through some of those milestones, equalizing the pressure between Dragon and International Space Station.
No, esto es lo de ahora.
Sí, es lo mismo, ¿no? Es la de abajo, la de Peter.
Pues esta no. La que acaba en W.
Before they make their way inside the orbiting complex.
Ah, vale. Pedro Duque nos guía por la estación espacial internacional.
Ese. No, porque se ve la puerta tal cual, lo que estamos viendo, además las mismas etiquetitas que pone abajo Pro, a la derecha To Call. Esa. Siempre una entradilla así de la ESA, claro. Ponlo ahí por salteado. Picadito.
Pues míralo.
¿Ves? Esta es la puerta que estábamos hablando todo el rato, que no se ha abierto en 9 años.
Pero cuando llegó la demo 1 y llegó el maniquí, la abrieron.
Ah, bueno, entonces, sí, perdón.
¿Sabes? Y seguramente yo creo que otras naves han llegado, las Soyuz imagino que han atracado por aquí también.
Pedro, yo no sé si Pedro es muy habilidoso, pero siempre me ha hecho mucha gracia este tipo de cosas que hace, que se le da como un poco mal, ¿no? Cuando se puso la mascarilla y se le cayó, ese tipo de cosas me siento muy identificado. Y se le ve ahí como en plan, os muestro este armario que se abre así. Bueno, vale.
Mira cómo vuelan las cositas, ¿eh? Aquí. Esto, como podéis ver, no es una imagen de ahora, es Pedro Duque, que es ministro actual de Educación y Ciencia de España.
No, educación no, de ciencia y tecnología.
Exacto. de tecnología. Esto es lo que se está viendo en la imagen oficial, por lo tanto no nos estamos perdiendo nada.
Sí, sí, sí.
Y mientras tanto vamos viendo a Pedro Duque como...
Me refiero al mismo escenario que sorprende, fijaos, uno está un poco más desastrado a la izquierda, a lo mejor sí que han hecho algo para recibir a la gente. Mira ahí todos los ordenadores, toda la forma de agarrarse, todo. Es ahí una bicicleta para mantenerse en forma. Una bicicleta, bueno, para los brazos también. El minuto 4 me hace mucha gracia porque toca el piano y está súper cachondo.
Mientras tanto...
Sí, conectamos. Era una curiosidad y ya está.
No, pero prefiero ver... Yo creo que es curioso.
Es que te la muestra de todos los ángulos, que es lo que nos estamos perdiendo ahora un poco.
Sí.
Ahí para agarrarse y hacer los experimentos que estamos comentando. Para monitorizar los experimentos, está comentando ahí. Que esto no es un capricho humano solamente por la curiosidad, que también es impresionante, que es lo que más nos impacta. Pero esto se hace por la ciencia, como ha comentado en varias ocasiones, por la investigación en unas condiciones concretas que no se pueden hacer en otros lugares del mundo.
Aquí vemos a nuestro... se ha cambiado de traje, ¿eh?
Se ha equipado. Esto va a operar.
Nuestro amigo Cassidy se ha puesto uniforme. Aún queda más o menos media horita, me comentan.
¿Media hora? Ostras.
Sí.
Bueno, ahora cuando venga Peter me hago un café y cogemos fuerzas.
Estas son las escotillas para ver qué imágenes, ¿eh?
¿Ves?
Of good data transmission. And of course, the teams here on the ground, both here in Houston and in Hawthorne, troubleshooting some of the communication to make sure that is ready to go prior to hatch opening. Pressurization between International Space Station and Dragon brought up to the same pressure, 14.7, the same we would find here on Earth. Leak checks are next to confirm the pressure is stabilized between the two vehicles. You see the hatch just on the other side of Chris Cassidy there. That's the hatch to the pressurized mating adapter. There's two more hatches once you go down that hatchway. One is to the international docking adapter, and the other is the hatch of Dragon itself.
SpaceX, Dragon with a couple of questions.
I am here and ready to copy.
Hey, Anna. We show about an hour and 11 minutes since we started drying the suits, just to let you know that. And then the other thing is we can put 4.400 section 2 in work if you think we have some time before we get the hatch open.
We copy. You are go to stop drying your suits and turn off that suit fan at this time. Let me get you words on that waste system flush.
Copy. We'll shut the suit fan off now.
In Dragon SpaceX, we are about a half hour prior to hatch open, so you are go to do that waste system flush if that sounds good to you at this time.
Okay, we may give it a few minutes. If it's going to be 30 minutes until hatch opening, we may want to use it just one more time. So yeah, we may hold off for another 10 minutes or so, but let us know if anything changes. Otherwise, we'll do it then.
Totally reasonable. Sounds like a good plan. Thanks.
And Dragon, Houston on Dragon 2 ground. We're still working comm issues. We're going to take down the big loop now. We'll maintain you on Dragon to ground. We'll call you when we have hardline back in place.
Stand by 1 second. Chris.
Dragon copies, Houston. Thanks.
Go ahead, Chris. Sorry, I was talking to Dragon.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, I'm just looking ahead at the PAO event, and I know it says video through the node 2 and space to ground 2 up and down. It would only take me about 1 minute to change back over to the encoder and go do comm the normal way that we do PAO events, if that's something that's preferred. It really is super fast, and I can get you that way in that config real quick if you need it. Later.
Copy, Chris. Yeah, copy. Thanks for that. We'll offer it up, and I'll let you know if we want to go that way.
Copy. Obviously not urgent or important, just throwing it out there.
Station Houston on 3 for Chris comm config.
Go ahead.
We just wanted to clarify from your last comments. We show it as being in the standard config, whereby you're going to be coming down over the camcorder HD mic, and we'll be going up over space to ground 2, and that's what we're intending. Did you maybe just? We might have missed your intent in your previous remarks. Is that what you had in mind?
No, I had, like we do all other PAO events, we talk, we hold the handheld microphone that is going through the clip-on mic transmitter to the clip-on, through the camera, and then the audio comes down through the encoder. That's how we typically do PAO events. So I could go back to that config if you need, super fast, or if you want to do it this way where we're talking on space to ground 2, that's fine too. I don't care. Just throwing it out there because it's different than we normally do PAO events.
Standby.
And just to be clear, with the configuring now is the Node 2 camera is not connected to the encoder, as you probably know. So all I would do is just plug the cable back into the encoder and switch back over to the nominal Node 2 camcorder.
And Chris, that is clear. The camera needs to be plugged into the encoder. So what you're saying is what we need. We don't know where it got swapped up, but the camera should definitely be plugged into the encoder, and audio is coming down via that encoder.
Okay, so yeah, we'll just use it on the, I guess what I was thinking is going back to one without a battery and not be dependent on the battery, and going back over to the nominal cable, which includes power. I just get a little leery about relying on these batteries.
Cappy, we have Photo TV online, so we're talking to them on the phone right now. Stand by one. Station Houston on 3 for Chris. Microphone and the free float camera both connected to the encoder. Does that clear it up?
Okay, copy all. You want the free float camera, and we'll use the handheld microphone through the ATU. Copy all. No problem. I think I'm not communicating. No pun intended. But I think we're in a good config now, and I won't swap over to the nominal Node 2 camera.
Down by Chris. Station Houston 3, Chris. If you're still there, we think we still have it backwards. So I see you look. Yeah, I see in the video now. So we still have PAO on the line. Sorry for the confusion, but I think this much is clear. This morning, we moved cameras, we swapped the cameras that were connected to the encoder. What we want now, we're getting video from the free float camera through the encoder, so that's good. We're seeing it right now. What we need, just relaying here, is your lapel mic. That has to go through that new free float camera, so that your mic connects to the free float camera, and then that audio comes down through the encoder. Does that make sense?
That's the config it's in right now, and that's all perfect. The only benefit, I guess, I didn't initially make it clear, is if I switch back to the normal cable and the normal camera, we're not dependent on a battery power on the camera. I just am worried that throughout this whole event, we're gonna that all of a sudden the battery's gonna go out. I go back to the nominal.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground. Now report complete with 4.012.
The benefit to this free flow camera
Copy
is
complete
I
with
can take
4.012.
the cord and make it all the way into the Dragon, which I don't think we could do with the other cable. So my thought was, after we do all of the ingress stuff and we switch gears to the PAO ceremony when we're standing right in front of the hatch, we could have actual power to the camera, but it's really no big deal. What I'll do is I have got a couple batteries on standby, and I'll just make sure there's a fresh battery right before we start that PAO event.
Okay, Chris, sorry it took so long, but I'm 100% with you, and copy 100% on the battery concern. The word we're getting here is we would like to run it in the config that it's in right now. We copy all on the battery config. Great idea to have a few spares nearby, but we think it's going to last throughout the whole event.
Okay, copy all.
And Station Houston on 3 for Chris. With that out of the way, you have a go when able for your 1615 activity. 1615, that's your go for steps 3 and 4 in 2.102 Crew Dragon ISS arrival.
Okay, 1615 activity, inward.
Endeavour, Houston calling on hardline for a voice check. Endeavour, Houston calling via hardline for a voice check.
Loud and clear, how was?
Hey, Endeavour, Houston, we have you loud and clear on hardline. Great news.
Well, congrats. Sounds like we got it at least somewhat sorted out.
Affirmative, concur. We think we might have found interference between C2V2 and the hardline system, but we're going to keep it here for now and proceed down the timeline.
Never copies.
Houston on 3, hey, can you back me up on the PDT?
Will do, we're checking. Station Houston on 2. Chris, TPT is good. You're good to continue.
Copy, thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at the inside of the International Space Station. What you were hearing before were just some of the audio and video checks, just making sure that everything's synced up so that we get the best views and the best audio possible for when Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley come through that hatch. We're working towards a hatch opening now. You can see Chris Cassidy down the pressurized mating adapter. That hatch will open up to the international docking adapter. On the other side is the Dragon hatch. Cassidy working through those procedures after pressure equalization was complete. Now expecting around the order of 10 to 15 minutes maybe until we finally get that hatch open. So we'll stand by, keep those views coming from the inside of the International Space Station to welcome Bob and Doug aboard. This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at the live view of the inside of the International Space Station Flight Control Room. The team here, Orbit 2 team led by Flight Director Scoville, is working through the intricate process of making sure everything is ready to open the hatch and welcome Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station. It's been a journey so far to get to this point. More than 2 hours ago, made contact and capture with the International Space Station was the Dragon vehicle, the Crew Dragon vehicle, with Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard, 9:16 a.m. Central, 10:16 a.m. Eastern.
Dragon FM, voice check. How do you read me? Counting. 1, 2, 1,
30-minute
1,
timer that
2,
you gave
2,
us a little
1,
bit
2,
earlier.
3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5.
Here, and then give you go to come back on board.
In Dragon SpaceX, you were pretty broken in that previous call.
Here's some stations with ground 2. I don't hear Dragon.
I think you're being summoned by the Russian crew. In Dragon SpaceX, I was told to proceed with you. Can you please repeat your last?
Yeah, Anna, just wanted to double check with you to make sure you had copied our last and that we were still good on that estimated timer that you gave us for 30 minutes. It looks like we've got about 10 minutes left. So we'd like to pick up in section 2 of 4.400.
Checking.
This is Mission Control Houston. Chris Cassidy opens the hatch to the International Docking Adapter, 11:37 a.m. Central Time. Station and Dragon flying together, 267 statute miles over the South Pacific. This is a view from the camera at the forward end of Dragon.
20 minutes until Dragon hatch open, and the APAS hatch was just opened.
Again, 11:37 a.m. Central. The hatch to the International Docking Adapter was open. You see Chris Cassidy there poking his head in. That's the camera at the forward end of the Dragon. Now only one hatch separating Bob Behnken, Doug Hurley from Chris Cassidy, who you're seeing here from those Dragon views. Expected time to open that hatch is about 20 minutes from now. We'll report that time to you and expect to do a welcome ceremony at 12:15 a.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern. That'll welcome Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station as part of the Expedition 63 crew. We'll get to hear some words from them and have some VIPs here in Mission Control Houston to provide words to the teams that oversaw the entire mission and the crew aboard the International Space Station.
Station Houston, we copy the hatch open, no condensation, thanks.
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground, comm check.
Dragon to ground, how us?
A little choppy, how me?
You are loud and clear. We'll put section 2 of 4.400 in work.
We copy all. Thank you. And please give Anatoly a call on Big Loop.
You are loud and clear. Anatoly on the Big Loop. Put section 2 like to report 400 bottles of water consumed from location 9, bag 204.
Anatoly a call on Big Loop. Location 9, bag 204, and to confirm that was for the
You are loud and clear. Anatoly on the Big Loop. Put section 2 like to report 400. One for the water consumed from location 9 bag 204.
Give Little Tully a call on Big Loop. Location 9, bag
Chris Cassidy,
204,
removing that
to confirm that was for the
You are loud and clear.
removing that target from the A-pass hatch docking interface.
One for the water consumed from location 9 bag
Please give
204.
Little Tully a call on Big Loop. Location 9, bag
Chris Cassidy,
204,
removing that
to confirm that was for the
You are loud and clear.
removing that target from the A-pass hatch docking interface.
One for the water consumed from location 9 bag
Please give
204.
Little Tully
Dragon
a
FM,
call
voice check.
on
How
Big
to
Loop.
read me? Counting. 1 to 1.
Location
1
9,
to 2.
bag
Chris Cassidy,
204,
removing that
to confirm that was for the
You are loud and clear.
removing that target from the A-pass.
Endeavor has you loud and clear. How copy?
Copy system. They have you loud and clear.
Good to hear your voice.
Dragon FM, how to read me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, okay. See you soon. Turning over to Houston.
And all players from Houston, that completes the comm checks. Thank you.
Copy.
Okay.
This is Mission Control Houston. Those comm checks within the International Space Station between the Dragon crew, Chris Cassidy, and on the other side of the International Space Station, the Russian segment, Russian cosmonaut Anatoly Ivanishin completing those voice checks. You can see Cassidy continuing to outfit the hatch, just clearing the space and providing some padding and removing that docking target from the A-pass hatch.
SpaceX Dragon, go ahead and drag into ground.
So I copy that the waste system flush is in work and 2 more bags were consumed from location 9, bag 204, and that includes the water used for the waste system flush. Is that all correct?
From bag 204, one of which Bob is in the process of consuming, and the other will be for the waste flush. That is correct.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying. And secondly, do we have your permission to come back on board with video?
Negatives. We're going to need about 2 minutes. We're just wrapping up ops here right now.
Copy. 2 more minutes. We will await your confirmation.
Thank you.
Still getting views from the infrared camera that's located right at the center of the Dragon hatch, looking at Chris Cassidy, International Space Station Commander, outfitting that hatch, getting ready for Bob and Doug to arrive. You were hearing communications over Dragon to ground. That was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley on the other side of that hatch, inside the crew Dragon vehicle, finishing up their operations on the inside for that hatch opening, expected in about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, it's been a process to get to this point. Just about 2.5 hours ago, docking to the International Space Station was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the first commercial American vehicle to dock to the International Space Station with crew aboard. Again, we're expecting about 10 to 15 minutes to open up that hatch. One more hatch separating Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley from the inside of the International Space Station, still looking at Cassidy doing some of the prep work for that hatch. We'll get some great views that Cassidy set up over the past few hours to capture this historic moment today. Be sure to stay tuned in at 12:15 p.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll start a welcome ceremony officially welcoming Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station to join the Expedition 63 crew.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground.
Go ahead.
Anna, you're clear to come on board.
Copy. Clear to come on board, and thanks for your patience with the comm. We are in an orientation that's creating some blockage to receive your comm on Dragon to ground.
Yeah, we figured that was it. No problem. That's part of the deal.
Chris Cassidy giving a wave, eagerly awaiting Bob and Doug to come aboard. Just behind him, you see Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner, Russian cosmonauts of Expedition 63 standing by. We'll be able to come aboard Dragon here in a sec, get some views from the crew Dragon. We're in a short handover of those communications from the International Space Station. Video and audio should be regaining them momentarily. Anatoly Ivanishin in the foreground there. Chris Cassidy continuing the prep work for opening up the hatch there. Again, the pressurized mating adapter hatch you see there in the foreground is open. The APAS hatch to the International Docking Adapter is open. Just one more, and that's the hatch of Dragon, the Crew Dragon vehicle.
Houston Station, space to ground 2. Station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
Station Houston copies. Dragon call ready when you're able.
Houston, Dragon, go ahead.
And Dragon, Houston, just looking to confirm that you're ready for hatch equalization.
We are ready as long as SpaceX is ready.
Okay, Station and Endeavour, stand by for equalization. We're putting it in work. Expected equalization time, 4 minutes.
Station copies.
Endeavour copies.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're continuing to equalize the pressure of that last hatch. Behind that hatch is Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. We are moments away from opening the hatch and welcoming them aboard the International Space Station. This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just tuning in, we are standing by for confirmation of the hatch opening between the International Space Station and the Crew Dragon. There's the hatch to the Crew Dragon. Seeing Doug Hurley through the glass on the other side. And there's Bob Benkin. Still equalizing that pressure between Crew Dragon and International Space Station, just moments away.
Dragon SpaceX on Big Loop. You are go for hatch opening per the decal, followed by the remaining actions in your procedure 4.400.
Dragon copies, go for hatch opening and remaining steps in 4.400.
And with that, the hatch is open 12:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 p.m. Eastern. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley opened the hatch to the International Space Station after launching from American soil on a U.S. vehicle for the first time in 9 years, the first time ever for a commercially built spacecraft. If you're just tuning in, the hatches are open between Dragon and the International Space Station. International Space Station Commander Chris Cassidy now talking with Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. That hatch opened at 12:02 p.m. Central, 1:02 p.m. Eastern.
SpaceX Dragon on the Big Loop. The hatch is open in 5.5, 4.400. How copy?
I copy. Hatch is open. Great to hear. Thanks.
And SpaceX Dragon in 5.9, we're going to exit out of 4.400 and transition to 2.102 Crew Dragon ISS arrival through the hatch opening.
I copy. With that, I understand you are complete with 4.400 and will follow along with you as you transition to the ISS procedure.
This is Mission Control Houston. The crew of Demo 2 just performing a few closeout duties. The hatches are open. They were open 12:02 p.m. Central Time. We're moments away from the Dragon crew aboard Demo 2 to enter the International Space Station. It'll be the first time that Americans will enter the International Space Station on a rocket launched from U.S. soil, built by an American company. The first time ever Americans will enter from a commercially built spacecraft.
Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Chris. When you're able, we're just looking for a quick voice check on the mic.
Station Space Ground 2, go ahead.
Chris, we were hoping we could voice check the mic just before starting the PAO event.
Okay, copy that.
Houston Dragon on the big loop and step 6.1 of 2.102 IMV duct installation is complete. Go for IMV fan activation.
Houston copies, go for IMV fan activation, that's in work.
If you're just tuning in, you're getting a live look.
Station Houston on two things. Chris, we did hear you over the PAO side of things. That was a good voice check. We might ask you for one more. And then for the Dragon crew, you also have a go for 6.3. That's opening the location 23 and checking for debris.
Dragon copies 6.3 in work.
If you're just tuning in, you're getting a live look. On the left of your screen is a look inside the Crew Dragon on the Demo 2 mission. On the right, the International Space Station.
Houston
Bob Benkin.
Dragon on the big loop. We are ready for 6.4 and section 4 of the LIO instructions.
And station, we copy. Dragon crew, you are go at 6.4.
In work.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're getting a live look at the inside of the International Space Station, losing video communication from the International Space Station. It will only be momentary. We'll have those views back to see Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley enter the International Space Station. When they do, it'll be the first time that humans will enter through this hatch for the first time in 9 years.
Dragon, so we had to get I had to load the procedure from my iPad and hand it into them, so that's what took a little longer.
We copy, Chris. Station Houston on 2 for Chris. When convenient, PAO requests an additional voice check through the mic. And Chris, we're not hearing you in MCC. We are apparently getting it through to PAO. Just stand by. Chris, PAO is working comm reconfig. I'll call you if we're ready for another check.
Houston and SpaceX Endeavour in 6.5 LIO cartridges sealed and installed.
SpaceX copies.
Station Houston on 2 for Chris. We wanted you to confirm that the mic is in channel 1. It needs to be in channel 1. A thought here is that it could have been bumped over to 2. And Chris, we see you trying. We're still not hearing you in MCC. We're working on it. Houston, Chris. Nothing in MCC. We see you trying. The word here is that as long as that is in channel 1, any problems past that point are on our end, so we're looking into it. We'll be right back to you. Station Houston, we're ready for another voice check through the mic. Station Houston, we have you loud and clear through the mic. Thank you.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop in 7.1.
SpaceX here.
Okay, Anna, in 7.1, it appears that the AVV inner Bravo is open, as well as the PPRV ISO valve.
I copy that AVV inner Bravo appears to be open, as well as PPRV ISO valve.
Go ahead and cycle them to closed if you're good with that call.
Yes, we are good with that call and appreciate the status. Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just tuning in, hatches were open at 12:02 p.m. Central Time. We are moments away from Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley entering the International Space Station. Again, this is Mission Control Houston, moments away from Bob and Doug entering the International Space Station. Shortly after they enter, we will conduct a welcome ceremony. There will be VIPs here in Mission Control Houston, Ficker 1.
Looks like they're all closed visually now. We are in 8.3 for both SpaceX and Houston. Dragon arrival configuration is complete.
SpaceX copies. All valves appear closed visually now, and arrival configuration complete. Excellent to hear.
Houston copies. And with that, Endeavour, welcome to the International Space Station. Please come aboard.
Endeavour copies with pleasure. We'll be there in a second.
We have Bob Behnken from SpaceX Demo 2 mission entering the International Space Station. Followed by Doug Hurley.
And Station Houston, we see you, and it's a great-looking photograph. So thanks for that. Stand by one. We'll call you when we're ready for the event in the next few seconds. Got a whole bunch of very happy and grateful people making their way into MCC right now.
Demo 2 crew now aboard the International Space Station. They entered at 12:22 p.m. Central Time. The station at the time was 262 statute miles over Turkmenistan. Crew all gathered in front of the cameras at the Node 2 forward end of the International Space Station. Just behind them is the hatchway to the Crew Dragon on this Demo 2 mission. We're standing by for a welcome ceremony. We'll have VIPs here in Mission Control Houston ready to greet the crew.
And Station, we're just about ready. Stand by. All right, Station, it's Houston on Space to Ground 2. Confirm that you are ready for the event.
Houston, this station, we are ready for the event.
Copy that. And sir, Administrator Bridenstine, welcome to MCC. Please call Station for a voice check.
Station, this is the NASA Administrator. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Welcome to the space station.
Thank you, Chris. It's good to see you. And welcome to Bob and Doug. I will tell you, the whole world saw this mission, and we are so, so proud of everything you have done for our country and, in fact, to inspire the world.
We sure appreciate that, sir. It's obviously been our honor to be just a small part of this. We have to give credit to SpaceX, the Commercial Crew Program, and, of course, NASA. It's great to get the United States back in the crewed launch business, and we're just really glad to be on board this magnificent complex.
Well, we have some VIPs with us here, and I'm sure they have some questions that they'd like to ask you, but I have one of my own before I turn it over. And I just wanted to find out if you guys got any sleep on your way up there the last, I'd say, I get 19 hours. Did you guys get any sleep?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in Hawthorne were asking the same question, sir, but we did get probably a good 7 hours or so opportunity for sleep, and I did succeed at sleep, and Doug did as well. So the first night is always a little bit of a challenge, but the Dragon was a slick vehicle, and we had good airflow, and so we had a excellent evening, and just excited to be back in low Earth orbit again.
Amazing. Well, one of the people that is here with us today is Senator Ted Cruz, and of course he's a huge advocate of America's space program.
And you can see sort of the sealing surface, those 4 circular those 4 circular slots right underneath the nose cone within that red ring are the forward bulkhead Dracos. That's what we were using while we were conducting all those burns, the 5 burns to get to this point. Right now, we don't have a reason to use those. We'll only be making small attitude corrections with the service section Dracos. And you can see the service section actually pretty clearly here too. There's a black portion and a white portion sort of separated by a fin. The black portion is solar panels, solar cells that'll charge Dragon's batteries, and the bottom side, the white portion, is actually a thermal radiator that's used to keep the spacecraft nice and cool. Of course, the avionics and the cabin, making sure that Bob and Doug are comfortable inside.
Looks like we're getting a shadow cast. We are just 60 meters away, continuing to close in, just about 40 meters to go until we're at that hold point. Should get there in just over 2 minutes. Meanwhile, teams in Hawthorne and in Houston doing their internal go, no go for docking. They're going to get all the teams pulled. Once everyone's go, we'll be able to give Dragon the final go ahead for the vehicle to autonomously fly in and dock with the International Space Station. Should be coming up on waypoint 2 arrival in just about 1 minute, 45 seconds. At this point, it'll be 20 meters away from that docking port. The International Docking Adapter number 2 attached to pressurized mating adapter number 2 at the very forward end of the Harmony module.
Right there on the, right around the center, you can see the forward hatch. It's got a window in it. You can see a couple of handles, and there's some features that look sort of bronze-ish. Those are the pedals that we were talking about earlier as part of the soft capture system. So pretty wild, too, to see. We're so close that we're getting shadows from the station on Dragon. Wow.
Self.
Wow. Then we'll get confirmation of hard capture.
To hook indicators.
Our favorite dads in space, as we've been calling them. This has got to be real.
Soft capture complete.
Dragon is soft capture confirmed. Stand by for retraction and docking.
And we just heard it, soft capture. We have docking, that coming at 7:16 a.m. Pacific time, with the station and Dragon flying 262 statute miles right over the border between northern China and Mongolia.
You saw a little bit of motion there of Dragon. That was that relative motion.
Space station. We also just received word that Dragon is successfully receiving power.
Ground ISS power connection has been established.
And there you have it. Dragon is successfully receiving power from the International Space Station.
And Dragon copies on Dragon to ground that power has been established. Just let us know when we should make a hardline comm check.
We will, Co. Thank you.
It's a little bit confusing between the space shuttle and the Dragon vehicle. So it's a main engine cutoff is what MECO stands for. Those happened at different times in flight for the 2 vehicles. For the space shuttle, that was when you were all the way in orbit. For Dragon, that was just a little bit after 2 minutes. And then we had the single engine cutoff for second stage when we achieved orbit. So that time under the single engine under Dragon with one engine was more of an experience than the shuttle was for that 6.5 minutes or so that we were under that second stage motor.
Well, I would just like to say, in fact, Doug, did you have something you wanted to add there? I met your mother and father yesterday, Doug, and great folks. They're very, very proud of their son.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Hopefully they enjoyed the launch. I know for parents, it can probably be pretty nerve-wracking for them to experience a launch. This was their third, so I'm glad everything went okay, and hopefully it was a good show. We haven't obviously heard or seen any video yet, but we're looking forward to seeing the launch replayed sometime.
I can assure you that it was a great show. It was one of the treats of my lifetime, I would have to say, and many other folks that were sitting there looking all across the country and even the world. And I can tell you, as Senator Cruz said, we've gone through some really, really rough times over the last few days, and to have that successful launch. The public-private partnership between NASA and SpaceX, and you guys being so well-trained and having it go off without a hitch was a tremendous blessing for our country. And I can't tell you how many emails and communications I've gotten from people that who were so disturbed by what's been going on, transpiring around the country, to have the great news and the wonderful liftoff and everything going without a hitch. So I just want to say God bless both of you. Thank you so very much. Bless the rest of you folks up there as well. We thank our Russian partners. And thank you, Chris. Y'all are all in our prayers, and we're looking forward to seeing you successfully complete your mission and back on safely on Earth. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just so you guys are aware, the show was in fact spectacular. The ratings on NASA TV beat everyone else. Not just some of them, it beat all of them, and that includes, just so everybody is aware, the whole world saw this. It trended #1 on Twitter. It was the #1 thing talked about on social media in general. This was an amazing moment, and it represents a transition in how we do space flight from the United States of America. NASA is not going to purchase, own, and operate rockets and capsules the way we used to. We're going to partner with commercial industry for access to low Earth orbit, and those partnerships are going to enable our providers to get customers that are not NASA and drive down our costs. And we're going to have numerous providers that are competing on cost and innovation and safety. And we're going to have more access to low Earth orbit than ever before. And this business model, now that it's been proven on commercial resupply of the International Space Station, now commercial crew to the International Space Station, this model is going to apply, and I know Senator Cruz has this near and dear to him, when we go to the moon. And of course, when we go to the moon, it's going to be done because of the great people here at the Johnson Space Center and so many other centers across the United States of America. But when we go to the moon, we're going to land on the surface of the moon with commercial landers. And of course, we're very proud of the Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program being managed right here out of the Johnson Space Center as well, so that we can take small payloads to the surface of the moon. And all of this is leading up to an amazing day where we have humans living and working for long periods of time on the surface of the moon, but doing it with a purpose. And that purpose, of course, is to go to Mars. Humanity is going to explore more and be able to go further than ever before because of the public-private partnerships. We all know that if the government is creating the demand and the government is creating the supply, we will always be limited. But when we have partners that are interested in exploring commercially and doing the things that are necessary, to get capital investment, then we're all going to end up better. So I want to just say the whole world saw this,
This is a new era in human spaceflight, and we are so grateful for the service of not just our 2 astronauts that embarked on this mission, but the 100,000 plus people that participate in it, in this mission, everything from the suppliers to the main contractors, to the NASA team, the SpaceX team. What an amazing day for our country and, in fact, for the world. I'm going to turn it over for a second to my deputy, Jim Morehard, who's been a great deputy at NASA.
Gentlemen, congratulations. You know, Jim's mentioned going to the moon, and yesterday and today, one, you've inspired the Artemis generation, which is our next generation, and that's what this is about. It's really bringing the children that we've got and our grandchildren forward, so they'll be the ones that are going into deep space. This is the dawn of a new era, and we just thank you for being at the beginning of it. Thank you so much.
It was absolutely our pleasure, but it's just a huge team effort across the board from SpaceX to NASA that made this all happen. We were just the lucky guys that got to fly the rocket yesterday.
I have a question for Chris Cassidy. You know, our crew here decided to be about 3 days late. You got to work them overtime, I presume, now to get them caught up on all the activities that they missed out on. Any plans for them?
Well, the day they missed out on was a good one for them to skip. It was Saturday house cleaning, but I took care of it for them. We'll catch up next weekend. But in all seriousness, we've got a few things to take care of tonight, make sure we're all safe and we know the plan in case something bad happens. And then we're looking forward to some operational stuff later in the month. Maybe we'll get outside and do some spacewalks. And our efforts in these coming weeks will be in that effort. So we're all super excited to have 2 more crewmates to the Expedition 63 team.
Awesome. And, of course, here in Houston, this is the home of the astronaut office, and the Johnson Space Center is led by Mark Geyer, and I'm going to turn it over to Mark for a few comments.
Thank you, Jim. Hey, it's great to see all of you there. Good to see you, Bob and Doug. I know we talked a few days ago. You look a little taller than I remember you. And but I also want to thank Anatoly and Iman and, of course, Chris for what you guys have been doing since you all arrived. And I know there's been a ton to do, and you've been really busy, and I appreciate that. So I also like this visual of our international partnership. We have had a tremendous partnership with Roscosmos, and we will continue to do so. But it is nice to see crew arrive from this side of the space station. So that was pretty cool after 9 years. I did have one question for Chris, though. What might you do to ensure that Bob and Doug stay longer? Do you have any strategy there?
Well, we'll slow down the rate of which I'm eating food, and maybe we can stretch out our consumables a little bit. But that's a great question. We'll have to come up with some conniving scheme here in the next few days.
All right, thank you. Thanks, guys. Look forward to greeting the 3 of you eventually back in Ellington after your work is complete. Thank you.
And, of course, Mark Geyer has an amazing deputy, Vanessa Weish, if you'd like to come and say a few words.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, guys. You look really good. I just want to say on behalf of everybody here, we just want to thank you. It was an amazing launch, and we love seeing the docking. You guys all look really good. Just thank you for all that you're doing, and we can't wait for you to return, but not too soon. Station wants you to get a lot of work done, so looking forward to all of that. But thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Vanessa. We appreciate that.
All right, we also have with us Steve Jerzik, who is the Associate Administrator for the agency. For people who don't know what that is, that, of course, is the Chief Operating Officer of the agency. But he also ran the flight readiness review for this mission. He did really an amazing job
and I can't say enough about his leadership at the agency. Steve, if you'd like to say a few words, ask a few questions.
Hey guys, it is just great to see you all on the station. I can't tell you how my adrenaline shut down when you guys opened the hatch. I mean, I've just been on edge ever since yesterday, and the weather cleared. I can't tell you how great it's been to see you on station. It has been a team effort. I felt like the last 2 years I've kind of been part of the team, working through issues, and it's been a heck of a year and a half with Demo 1. And the in-flight abort test, and working through issues like parachutes and the escape system, and I just could not be more proud of the team for getting to this point. It's amazing, and you obviously have been part of that. I really appreciate you all showing up in Washington, D.C. at our reviews, and because the last thing we do at those reviews is look at you all, because you guys are the risk takers, and make sure you're okay with where we are and where we're headed. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate your active participation in that. And I could not be more, like I said, more proud of the team, and congratulations. And it is awesome to see you guys on station.
Well, thank you, sir. We're just proud to be a part of the team that got to bring space flight back to the Florida coast. I appreciated the comment earlier that it was nice to see a vehicle come to the forward portion of the space station, but I'll tell you what, that's the only way Doug and I know how to do it. So thanks to the team for providing it to happen our way. We appreciate that.
Well, Bob and Doug, just so you're aware, I'm being given the wrap signal. Doug, did you have something to say before we wrap it up here?
Oh, no, sir. We're just happy to be here, and Chris is going to put us to work, and hopefully we will fit in and not mess too many things up.
I have no doubt that you guys are going to do amazing work. I just want you to know the president came to the launch and the vice president came to the launch. About half the cabinet was at the launch. We had members of Congress and members of the Senate from both sides of the aisle. And this was an amazing moment of unity for the nation. It was an amazing moment for the whole world to look up. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic and some other challenges, we were able to have this very, very special moment where we could all look at the future and say that things are going to be brighter tomorrow than they are today. And you and the NASA team and the SpaceX team gave us that opportunity, and for that we are so, so grateful. I would also be remiss as the NASA administrator if I didn't promote what comes next. And of course, this is the beginning. We are now launching to low Earth orbit again, but we will soon be going to the moon. We will be going to the moon sustainably with commercial partners and international partners. We're going to use the resources of the moon to learn how to live and work for long periods of time. Ultimately, we're going to take all of that knowledge and we're going to go to Mars. And of course, this time when we go to the moon, we go with a very diverse, highly qualified astronaut corps that includes women, which is why we call the program Artemis, named after the twin sister of Apollo, and she, in Greek mythology, was the goddess of the moon. This is the beginning. There is so much more to come, and I'm glad that our representatives of the Johnson Space Center are here because we're going to be asking them to fund this project. And what an amazing day that you guys have given us. So thank you from not just me and the people here, but from the United States of America and people all around the world. I'm more popular on Twitter than I've ever been, and it's because of you guys. Thank you.
To the crew on the International
Thank you to all
Space
of you.
Station.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Chris, we ask that you just hold your position for a few minutes. There's, of course, a number of photos we'd like to take. And then a quick note for those down here in the room. To Senator Cruz, Congressman Babin, Administrator Bridenstine, Director Geyer, and all of our distinguished visitors, thank you for your participation in today's historic event, and thank you for the leadership that has enabled it.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station.
That concludes our coverage of the SpaceX Demo 2 mission in conjunction with NASA. On behalf of all the teams that participated in this mission, from Hawthorne to Houston to Mission Control to the Kennedy Space Center, this is Mission Control Houston.
The SpaceX Crew Dragon has been equipped to stay in Earth's orbit for about 110 days. However, there are no details on when the astronauts will actually return to Earth. You can watch our coverage of the SpaceX launch and docking, along with speeches and briefings, online at C-SPAN. Type SpaceX in the video library search box on our homepage. Video earlier today in the minutes leading up to the docking of the SpaceX Dragon with 2 astronauts aboard with the International Space Station. You'll hear communications between the spacecraft and ground control, as well as commentary from NASA TV as the docking takes place.
They're going to get all the teams polled. Once everyone's go, we'll be able to give Dragon the final go-ahead for the vehicle to autonomously fly in and dock with the International Space Station. Should be coming up on waypoint 2 arrival in just about 1 minute, 45 seconds. At this point, it'll be 20 meters away from that docking port. The International Docking Adapter number 2 attached to pressurized mating adapter number 2 at the very forward end of the Harmony module.
Right there on the, right around the center, you can see the forward hatch. It's got a window in it. You can see a couple of handles, and there's some features that look sort of bronze-ish. Those are the pedals that we were talking about earlier as part of the soft capture system. So pretty wild, too, to see. We're so close that we're getting shadows from the station on Dragon. Wow.
And we're getting these views of Dragon's approach from 2 cameras that are right next to that docking adapter. And the movement's a little jarring at times. These cameras are being commanded by a person at the Cronus console in Mission Control Houston, and they send some very basic function commands to the camera, which it then executes automatically. And so they're continuing to follow Dragon in, so we do thank them for their diligence to give us these views of this historic moment as we are just less than 30 meters away from docking.
Right above the NASA meatball logo, you can see 3 of the service section Draco thrusters.
That's right, 12 in all. So 4 of those clusters spread around the vehicle, used for a lot of the attitude control and any small translational maneuvers like we just watched Bob and Doug execute with their second manual flight test.
Yeah, and actually oriented in a way, too, where if you were to lose some of those thrusters, you still have redundancy and control in those axes. That's part of the reason why they're sort of at the angles that they are.
All right, so we should be getting to waypoint 2 right now. So it looks like we do have that hold.
Dragon SpaceX on Big Loop. The ground is go for approach 2. We will be enabling the resume shortly. As a reminder, ensure your visors are closed prior to Dragon's departure from the waypoint. And once Dragon is inside the crew hands-off point, retreat and breakout are not permitted. And for your awareness, we have sunset in a little less than 8.5 minutes.
Dragon copies all on the Big Loop. Go for docking.
So Doug on the spacecraft confirming their go for docking. They're going to put down their visors. Got some instructions there about the crew hands-off point that we had talked about earlier. That's a point where we don't want the crew issuing any commands to the vehicle. It's about just about 2 meters away from the docking adapter. I believe the number is about 1.7 meters.
Station Houston on the Big Loop. Houston and station are now go for docking. Chris, you can monitor for steps 3 and 4. 3 and 4 in 1.104 Crew Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Copy steps 3 and 4. Next Dragon on the Big Loop. Our visors are down.
Copy, visors down.
crew confirming their visors down. We should see the final approach resume.
Dragon on the big loop, we are inbound from approach 2.
Copy inbound.
Station copy.
And we're going to be racing that sunset. The approach has resumed. Dragon closing in. We're inside 20 meters. And yeah, that crew hands-off point should come up in about 3 minutes or so. Right before we get that final docking, it comes about 20 seconds prior, or just about 2 meters away from the station still. And that's just the crew not issuing any abort commands. At that point, it would be too late. And so any aborts would be executed automatically by Dragon itself. So we're closing in at less than 1/10 of a meter per second at this point.
You can see the service section Dracos just doing all these very small, minor attitude corrections. Really, the autonomous docking system at work, making sure that the vestibule and the soft capture system is lined up with IDA2. It's the International Docking Adapter. You can see much more clearly there the hinge mechanism for the nose cone. Those 4 black circles are the forward bulkhead Dracos, not to be used at this time. And then, of course, the pedals of the soft capture system. Wow.
Dragon on the big loop, we're inside 10 meters. We cannot make out the docking target, but we do see the outline.
We copy and concur, 10 meters.
All right, we're less than 10 meters away. Again, we're closing at that rate of less than 1/10 of a meter per second. We should be just about 1 minute, 45 seconds away from docking.
There is a centerline camera right in that middle, so that you can see where the forward hatch is. And right in the middle of that, there's a window, and there's a centerline camera that is aligned with the center of the vehicle and the center of the docking mechanism. So that is what the autonomous docking system is using to line up with sort of a cross-hatch, cross-target on the docking port. Again, the forward docking port on PMA2, or the pressurized mating adapter.
And we are just 5 meters away. Again, we're racing that sunset. This Dragon continues to close, 4 meters to go.
Those shadows of the space station on the vehicle. Yeah, you can actually see the centerline camera pretty clearly there, sort of with the contrast of the sun right now.
3 meters to go. Two meters. We are inside the hands-off point, the chop, the crew hands-off point. 1 meter to go. Soft capture complete.
Dragon in space. Soft capture confirmed. Stand by for retraction and docking.
And we just heard it, soft capture. We have docking, that coming at 7:16 a.m. Pacific time, with the station and Dragon flying 262 statute miles right over the border between northern China and Mongolia.
You saw a little bit of motion there of Dragon that was at relative